survivor of domestic violence. It took me a long time to see myself that way. I was a victim of emotional, mental, physical, sexual, and financial abuse, and so I always saw myself as a victim. You might not know it looking at me today, but there was a time in my life when being beaten was a daily occurrence. I thought it was what I deserved. At that time, my life had spiraled out of control, and I made many choices I would live to regret. Choices that filled me with such shame. I was hurting, and all I wanted was for someone to love me for me, to accept me the way I was. I had never felt loved as a child. I was never hugged or kissed or told I was pretty. No one ever told me I was good at anything. I never felt special to anyone. I felt unloved and ugly, like a failure. And because of this, I did what failures often do. I made one bad choice after another, trying to earn the love and acceptance I so desperately wanted. Shame from my past had beaten me down until I doubted I was worthy of anything, certainly not love. I even attempted suicide because I wanted all the pain to stop. But it only made me feel more like a failure, more unloved. These bad choices led me right into the arms of an abusive man. I was so desperate for love that I would accept any love I could get, even love that hurt. And this man promised to love me. He was almost too good to be true at first. I couldn't believe I had found someone to love me. Then he hit me the first time, and I knew I must have deserved it. I had nowhere to go, and no one else loved me, so I stayed. My abuser had convinced me that I deserved every beating, every broken bone, every humiliation. He would tell me every day that I deserved it, and that no one else could ever love me. No one would ever want me. My past had taught me that I was not loved, was not wanted, and so this man, who loved me until it hurt, was the only love, the only acceptance I knew. And who was I to say that love wasn't supposed to hurt? I knew nothing of love. My grandparents had wanted my mother to have an abortion. I was rejected by my biological father, who wanted nothing to do with me. I was emotionally and physically abused by my adopted father, and raised by a wounded mother who was unable to love. I learned at a young age that love has to be earned, that love is not freely given, and that love can be taken back at a moment's notice. You see, the love I knew did indeed hurt. For me, this very painful, very demeaning love wasn't such a far stretch. For almost 3 years, I was beaten every day by the man that I loved. And I would think maybe today he'll kill me. You see, this love hurt that bad. Many days I even wished for death, wished for all the pain to stop. I did try to leave a few times, but my abuser would always threaten to kill me and would remind me that I was weak and I would never make it on my own, and that no one else wanted me. So like most victims, I stayed. My abuser used financial abuse to control me even more. I worked the entire time we were together, while he refused to work. He took any money I made and used it for drugs and alcohol. And if I put money in the bank to keep him from getting it, he would beat me senseless until I would write him a check so he could have it. No matter how hard I worked, or what help I got so we could pay our bills, he would always torture me until I gave in and gave him the money. When our utilities were shut off or we were evicted, he would remind me it was my fault. I wasn't working hard enough. And when he would end up in jail because of the abuse, I had to find a way to pay for his fines and restitution, because of course, that was my fault too. He used mental and emotional abuse to wear down my already fragile self-esteem. You see, everything was my fault. I could never do anything right. If I was a better woman, he wouldn't have to hit me. If I was a better worker, we would have enough money and he wouldn't have to beat me into submission. If I was a better cook and housewife, he wouldn't have to break my bones to teach me a lesson. After terrible beatings, he would always remind me that I made him do it. My abuser was about total control of every aspect of my life. He owned me, so that meant I had to do whatever he wanted, even if I didn't want to. This carried over into sexual abuse. I was forced to do things and be witness to things that I did not want or like, things I would have never chosen for myself. And when I refused to sleep with someone he promised me to, he would choke the very life out of me until I would pass out. So many times I wished that he had just killed me, because then the nightmare would be over. His abuse was demeaning and crippling. It was horrifying and all-encompassing, and it carried over into every aspect of my life. I never believed I would be free from him, ever. I believed he would always own me, always have control over me, and that I had no other choice. But one day, everything changed for me. I had a son, and how I loved that child. I took many beatings to protect him, and one day the revelation came. I would do anything for this child, and he deserved a better life than this. I loved him so much, I was willing to die trying to save him. Having my son showed me what love really was for the first time. Love to me had always hurt, had always been conditional, and I was never good enough to earn the love I so desperately wanted. And so my love for my child saved my life in more ways than one. You see, I never loved myself enough to leave, to get out of the abuse. But in my love for my son, I found the strength to leave my abuser. I realized for the first time in my life, I had a choice. I could choose a better life for my son and for myself. And when I left, it was a safe home in Hanover that helped me to put the pieces of my life back together. It was not easy. In fact, it was the hardest thing I have ever done. With my abuser, I knew what to expect. There was security in that. On my own, life was almost too much to bear, and leaving only makes the abuser more angry. So I suffered much at his hands for those first few months. I was so afraid he would find me and kill me, or worse, he would take my son and I would never see him again. This is what he told me every time I tried to leave. And so after finally leaving, I was sure he would make good on these threats. I was scared to death. When it was all said and done, my 1.5-year-old son and I were homeless for a month before we could get into a place of our own. Every day of that month, I wondered if I had done the wrong thing. You see, the places you stayed back then were not very nice. And sitting alone at night with no TV, no phone, no home, nothing familiar, just your thoughts to keep you company, has a way of convincing you that the abuse wasn't so bad. I wondered if I should just go back. But I knew I had to stay strong for my son. The only thing that got me through was my faith. Despite all my fear, my love for my son and my faith kept me going. I learned so much about myself in leaving my abuser, that I am stronger than I ever thought I was, that I can do more than I ever thought I could do, that I am worthy of love, and most importantly, that love is not supposed to hurt. For me, I had to find something bigger than me to believe in, to put my hope in. I had to learn to love myself. And in learning to love myself, I had to come to grips with who I really was and what was motivating the decisions I made. I learned that my need to feel loved had so consumed me and had so twisted my thinking that I was willing to allow a man to hit me and torture me as long as he told me he loved me. And I learned that I needed to take ownership for my part in this relationship. You see, I allowed it to happen. I stayed. I covered up the bruises and broken bones and lied about them. I made excuses for his behavior, all because I believed I was unloved, believed I deserved it, believed I had no choice. Today I can proudly say I am no longer a victim of domestic violence, but a survivor. What happened to me is not my identity. It is something that happened to me, but it is not who I am. I chose a different life. I chose to break the cycle of abuse. It was not easy, but it was my choice, and I am a survivor because of it.